Magandang umaga, hapon at gabi sa inyong lahat. Ngayon, nagbabalik ang Group 2 for another round of discussions and today we are to talk about our Chapter 7, Leadership Behaviors. Kaya handa na ba kayo? Kasi kami ng yung Brain Rot Friends are handa na para i-discuss to, right? Tung 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 sahur. Yeah, thank you, tung 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 sahur. Before we proceed, papakilala ko muna ang sarili ko. I am Kelsey Martin, the leader of Group 2. Let's first talk about what our chapter covers and its overall context with our chapter outline. So first, we're going to talk about the introduction of what is leadership behavior. Second, studies of leadership behavior. The leadership pipeline, community leadership, assessing leadership behaviors, multi-rater feedback instruments. Don't worry, we'll keep it short this time and concise for everyone to be able to understand more smoothly and without time pressure. Again, to start off our discussion, I'd like to start with a quote, but this time it's from General Norman Schwarzkopf, isang former United States Army general that said the truth of the matter is that you always know the right thing to do. The hard part is doing it. This just means that decision making isn't always about not knowing what's right, but most of the time it's about having the courage and discipline to follow through. And that's exactly what we'll exploring during this discussion. Okay, let's talk about leadership behavior naman this time. Maraming tao in authority position minsan hindi marunong mag-build or mag-motivate ng team. Whereas hindi pa nila nare-realize na yung ugali nila or mga behavior na ginagawa nila ay may negative impact pala sa mga taong under nila. Now, leadership behavior isn't just about giving orders. It's actually a mix of intelligence, personality, emotional intelligence, and values with experiences. In short, hindi lang siya pagiging bossy-bossy lang. Over time, leaders learn the most effective behaviors. Kaya nga, di ba, sabi nila, leaders are made, not born. And of course, hindi pwedeng mawala ang role ng followers in the situation itself. Kasi minsan, kahit gaano ka kagaling na leader, kung toxic naman yung environment, mahirap pa rin. Wala pa rin yan, di ba? So ayun, leadership is really a journey. Hindi lang siya about power, kundi about learning, adapting, and of course, being aware na may impact ka sa ibang tao. So, with that, let's proceed.
Now let's move on to the building blocks of leadership skills. Leadership skills can be divided into three layers. First layer is about what leaders do and kung paano sila mag-act. Dito pumapasok yung pag-set ng clear goals, pag-organize ng tasks, at pagpapakita ng care at support sa team. Kasama rin yung pag-balance ng atensyon between people's needs at yung work na dapat matapos. Leaders also use different leadership styles depending on how much they value people and results. Humihingi sila ng feedback from coworkers, employees, or managers at sinusunod nila yung mga models na nagpapakita ng key skills ng isang good leader. They also adjust their behavior depende sa level nila sa organization at minsan nagtitake pa ng leadership roles sa community. The second layer is about what leaders know and the experience they have. Ito yung tumutulong sa kanila to understand situations better at makagawa ng good decisions. Then lastly is about their personal qualities. Kasama dito yung thinking and problem-solving skills, personality traits, emotional intelligence, or the ability to understand and manage emotions, at yung values, interests, and goals na nag-guide sa kanila sa mga priorities at direksyon sa trabaho at buhay. Next naman, let's move on to the early studies. Ohio State University created a tool called the Leadership Behavior Description Questionnaire or LBDQ para pag-aralan kung paano kumikilos ang mga leaders. Nakita nila na may dalawang main types of behavior: consideration, which is about pagiging mabait, supportive at caring sa team members, at initiating structure, which is about focusing on tasks, pagset ng goals at pagsigurado na matatapos ang trabaho. Magkaiba ang dalawang ito. Ibig sabihin pwedeng magpakita ang leader ng isa lang, pareho o wala. Gumawa rin ang university ng iba pang tools tulad ng Supervisory Behavior Description Questionnaire or SBDQ, Leadership Opinion Questionnaire or LOQ, at mas maikling version ng original na tinatawag na LBDQ-12. Then next, according to University of Michigan naman, nakahanap sila ng 4 na klase ng leadership behaviors na nakakatulong sa group performance. Yung una ay goal emphasis at work facilitation na focus sa trabaho, similar sa initiating structure ng LBDQ. Yung pangalawa naman ay leader support at interaction facilitation na mas focus sa care at tulong para sa team members katulad ng consideration ng LBDQ. In addition, according pa rin sa University of Michigan, may job-centered at employee-centered behaviors na nasa magkaibang dulo ng scale. Usually, mas leaning ang leaders sa isa kaysa sa kabila. Para masukat ito, gumawa sila ng tool na tinatawag na Survey of Organizations. Both Michigan at Ohio State University agreed na wala talagang one's best set of leadership skills, behaviors na siguradong magdadala ng success. Depende pa rin ito sa mga situations.
So, on to the next topic. In leadership, may times na yung mindset natin ay nakakaapekto sa style of leadership. And we call this concern. And it is divided into two, people and results. So, concern for people can refer to concern for your coworkers or any people at work. Meanwhile, concern for results refers to the production, your bottom line or standard that you follow at work. So basically, concern is how much you care about your employees' well-being and achieving work goals at the same time. And most effective leaders concern themselves with both. So to explore this topic, Blake and McKenzie developed a leadership grid which scores leaders from 1 to 9 based on their concern for both. Alright, so we can see that there are the results based on the X and Y axis. And it shows the 5 types of management. So simulan natin sa bottom left, impoverished management. Basically, dito ginagawa mo lang yung bare minimum as a leader. Wala kang initiative to improve. And then next is yung authority compliance management. So dito, you prioritize efficient results over consideration for the employee's health or situation. And then next is the middle of the road management. Here, you balance reaching your goal while maintaining the team's happiness at the same time. And the next is the country club management. Here, you prioritize human relations with your coworkers and subordinates, so this leads to a more comfortable and friendly work atmosphere. And then lastly is the team management. This is a high balance of concern for the results and the people. So there is a relationship of trust between people and their work, which leads to having committed people that will accomplish the company goals. This is the ideal type of management. And this is basically the leadership grid.
In here naman, we're gonna talk about competency models. What are competency models? Competency models are structured that define the knowledge, skills, abilities that is required to perform effectively in a job. They help to set clear expectations for performance for organizational goals. All organizational competency models fall into one of the following categories. Number 1, intrapersonal skills. These are skills about understanding and managing yourself. I'll give you an example. Self-awareness, emotional control, adaptability, and resilience. Number 2, interpersonal skills. These involve building and maintaining healthy relationships. Example, communication, empathy, conflict resolution, and teamwork. Number 3, leadership skills. This goes beyond managing tasks to motivating and influencing people toward a vision. I'll give you an example for this. strategic thinking, vision setting, developing others, and driving change. Number 4, business skills. This focus on practical, organizational, and technical abilities. For example, planning, organizing, problem solving, decision making, and financial acumen. Okay, moving on to the next slide. The Hogan and Warrenfels domain. Model of leadership explains the development among leaders. The leadership competency model helps us to see how different leadership styles are connected, show which skills are easier or harder to change, and guides leaders on the right behavior they need to build in order to get good results. Okay, on the next slide, it shows the factors of leadership competency. Okay, please take note everyone, these are very important details. Okay, why competencies are important? Because it provides a clear guide for what makes a leader effective. Instead of relying on personal style, leaders have a blueprint of specific skills and behavior that they should develop. Okay, another. What is the effect of this competency model? It produces well-rounded leaders who can balance people and performance, leading to stronger organizations and lasting impact. Next slide, please. In here, you can see more competencies. I'll give you an example on how these are effective in leadership. First, it helps self-awareness and growth. Second, it supports better team management. And third, it ensures organizational success.
Here we are introduced to the leadership pipeline model, and in this part of the presentation we're going to tackle what's the leadership pipeline model, the model itself, and its implications. This model it basically explains the different stages leaders go through as they move up in an organization, from being first line supervisor to a functional manager and eventually to a CEO. At every stage, leaders are expected to spend their time differently, focus on new priorities, and let go of old tasks that no longer serve their role. Ibig sabihin, habang umakyat ka sa leadership, nag-iiba rin yung dapat mong pinaprioritize at inuuna. It also highlights the kind of behaviors they need to develop to succeed. More importantly, this model acts as a roadmap for everyone who wants to climb the leadership ladder. Parang gabay ito or mapa kung gusto mo umabot sa tuktok ng pagiging leader. It gives clarity on what's needed to reach top positions, and at the same time, pinapakita rin ito kung bakit may mga leaders na hindi nakakaabot. Karaniwan kasi, hindi sila natututong mag-adjust sa bagong gawain, behavior, o pananaw na needed sa mga bawat level.
I'll be discussing the leadership pipeline. This framework explains how leadership roles develop step by step in an organization, from being an individual contributor up to becoming the CEO. The key concept here is that leadership is not just about moving the ladder, but about learning new skills, changing time focus, and adopting new work values at each stage. In short, what makes you successful at one level won't automatically make you successful at the next. So, what is leadership pipeline? It's a model that shows the different levels of leadership inside a company and what competencies, time application, and values are required at each stage. It's like a roadmap for growth in leadership. Let's simplify it. Imagine an employee's journey. First, you start as an individual contributor. You focus on your own skills and doing tasks well. Then you become a first-line supervisor. Now you get results through your team, not just yourself. As a mid-level manager, you manage supervisors and allocate resources. As a functional leader, you handle an entire function like marketing or finance. As a business unit leader, you balance big picture goals with short-term needs. Then, as a group manager, you oversee multiple business units and align them with company success. Finally, at the top is the CEO or enterprise leader, who sets the direction, strategy, and culture. Let's make this clearer with examples. If you're a teacher in a classroom, you're like an individual contributor. You focus on teaching well. If you become the head teacher, you're like a first-line supervisor, guiding other teachers. If you move up to principal, you're like a mid-level manager, managing different departments. Finally, if you lead an entire school district, that's like being the CEO, setting long-term direction and vision. So to wrap up, the leadership pipeline teaches us that as we grow in leadership, we need to shift our skills, time, and values. Success comes from adapting at each stage, not just doing more of the same.
Now let's look at some key implications of the leadership pipeline model. First, if leaders don't show the right competencies, values, and time management skills for the role, they will struggle, especially in building teams and achieving results through others. Sa madaling salita, kung kulang ka isang leader sa tamang kakayahan, mahirapan talaga siya, lalo na sa pagbuo ng matibay na foundation ng isang team at sa pag-achieve ng results, hindi lamang mag-isa kundi kasamang iba. And secondly, while skills can be developed, research shows that intelligence and personality traits also play a big role. These qualities can increase the chances of being promoted and successfully adapting to new leadership levels. Oo, pwede namang ma-develop ang skills, pero ayon nga sa research, malaking bagay din ang talino at ugali ng tao. Madalas ito ay nakakatulong para mapabilis ma-promote at makasabay sa mga bagong hamon or challenges ng leadership. Lastly, organizations themselves have a responsibility. When external hires come in, they often face difficulties adjusting to new leadership stage. That's why onboarding programs are critical. It is to support their transition and ensure they can perform effectively. May mga pananagutan din ang mismo organizations. Like, kapag may mga bagong pasok na leaders galing sa labas, madalas nahihirapan sila mag-adjust. Kaya mahalaga ang onboarding programs. Ito ay parang tulay para matulungan sila makalapit ng maayos at makapag-perform effectively. Continuing with the implications, the model also warns about common leadership problems. One is when people skip levels in the pipeline. Leaders who are promoted too quickly often turn out ineffective because they haven't fully learned the skills and behaviors from the previous stage. Another issue comes from acquisitions. When companies merge, leaders sometimes end up being placed at lower positions in the pipeline, which can cause misalignment and frustrations. Madalas, may mga leaders na nilalagay sa mga mabababang posisyon kaysa sa dati. Dahil dito nagkakaroon ng hindi pagkakaintindihan at frustrations kasi nga hindi tugma ang kanilang role sa tunay nilang kakayahan o dati nilang level. Lastly, there is the problem of leaders operating at the wrong level. Some function 1 or 2 levels below where they should be, meaning they're still stuck in old habits. This can harm not only their own effectiveness but also their team and in their entire organization. Ayun nga, may mga problema rin kapag ang leader ay hindi naayon sa tamang level. May mga leaders na parang naiiwan pa rin sa dating gawain, ibig sabihin na nakabaon pa rin sila sa luma nilang style. Ang effect nito, hindi lang sila nakapektuhan, kundi pati ang buong team at ang buong organization.
Good morning, everyone. In this part, we will be discussing community leadership. So what is community leadership? Community leadership is the process of bringing together a team of volunteers to accomplish something important for the community. What makes community leadership special is that it redefines leadership behavior. It's not just about giving orders or controlling resources, it's about inspiring people, organizing efforts, and guiding a group toward a shared goal. For example, think about a situation in which natural disasters occur. In times of crisis, when help is delayed, there are often community leaders willing to be of help before an emergency comes to organize relief, prepare evacuation centers, and support for those affected. To summarize, community leadership is not solely focused on authority and wealth. They may lack these factors, but it makes up through passion, commitment, and willingness to lead. It highlights that community leadership is about making change happen where it matters most. Continuing on the theme of community leadership, let's talk about the skills and competencies required to successfully drive community change efforts. There are 3 key areas, starting with framing. Framing means helping a community recognize and define its problems and opportunities in a way that inspires action. Next, building social capital. Community leadership does not solely focus on solving problems, but at the same time, we tend to build and develop relationships with our fellow people to work effectively. Lastly, mobilization is defined as turning goodwill and relationships into action. We gather and encourage people to make a difference. To fully understand the concepts, let us create an example. Imagine a small town facing frequent flood during the rainy season and a community leader volunteers to help solve the issue. We can now apply the three concepts here. Let us start with framing. The community leader assesses the situation and not think of the issue as natural disasters, which is common, but rather an issue that the community can address together. This assessment encourages the community to perceive the problem as solvable and take effective actions. It shows the community leader frames the issue in an empowering way. When the leader connects with local groups and owners and builds trust and cooperation with them, these can be called the building social capital as relationships slowly form and people feel more united. Lastly, with the unity of the community, action happens to combat the problem, and this is the concept of mobilization, encouraging people to act collectively. To summarize all of these concepts, remember that a leader begins by framing the issue in a way that inspires people to see both the challenges and the opportunities. Then, through building social capital, they create the trust and relationships needed to work together. Finally, with that foundation in place, they move to mobilization, where people and resources come together to take action. To conclude, Figure 7.4 shows that the three competencies are interrelated and essential for a strengthened community. One that is not only able to address problems, but also be prepared for future challenges.
Good day everyone. This slide will explain the importance of applying a multi-rater or 360 degrees feedback instruments to assess the performance and behavior of a leader. So what is multi-rater feedback? The multi-rater feedback is used to collect structured feedback on someone's performance, behaviors, and competencies from multiple perspectives, including their self, boss, peers, and direct reports. It combines quantitative rating and qualitative comments that can help to change or improve someone's performance and behavior. Isang halimbawa nito ay ang paggawa ng isang multi-rater feedback ng isang manager. Humihingi siya ng komento or puna mula sa iba pang manager sa ibang departamento, sa mga kapwa niya empleyado, pati na rin sa mga individual sa labas ng kumpanyang pinapasukan niya mula sa mga direct reports nito, upang malaman niya kung saang bagay siya magaling at may pagkukulang. In the next slide, we will talk about the types of 360-degree feedback processes. The first step of a multi-rater feedback is a competency-based 360-degree questionnaire. It is a tool that helps an organization assess a leader or employee not just by what they achieve but how they behave, based on a set defined competencies including skills, traits that are important for success in their role. This instrument helps align feedback with the company's values and leadership model by choosing competencies that match what the company holds in high regard. It also helps identify leadership blind spots and plan focused development of those behaviors. The second one is the leadership versatility approach. It is a type of 360-degree feedback instrument that goes beyond just rating how effective a person is. It asks raters to evaluate not only whether someone exhibits certain leadership behaviors, but also whether they do so too much, too little, or just the right amount in four complementary behaviors. Moving on to the next slide, the third type of multi-rater feedback will be discussed. The third type is the verbal 360-degree technique. The main idea of the verbal 360-degree technique is that they gather feedback verbally through interviews in order to get richer, contextual, actionable insights. It gives leaders a clear sense of their strengths and growth areas so they can perform better in higher roles, especially in how they work with others. Construction of questionnaires is highly important. Poorly designed competency models and badly written questionnaire items can produce misleading or invalid feedback, and the raters may interpret them or give ratings based on perceptions rather than actual behavior of the people they are rating. Do leaders show improvement after 360 degrees feedback? According to the study of Biomed Central in healthcare, it shows that leadership behavior improves after 360 feedback and development interventions, which correlates with better team performance and outcomes. Other information about the usefulness of 360-degree feedback processes in assessing leader behaviors will be explained in the next slide. Multi-rater feedback instruments help in developing a wide range of leadership skills that enable teams to reach their goals is what drives strong observer ratings. The study of Asucha et al. In 2006 found that managers who received 360-degree feedback showed measurable improvement in management leadership skills over a two-year period. Some cultural, racial, and gender issues can distort 360-degree feedback, and those planning to use it should understand and address them before rolling out the process. So, this is the effect of a 360-degree feedback. The contagion effect means that the leaders' rating tend to rub off their direct reports if the leader is highly rated. Their team members often also get high ratings. If not, the team tends to be rated lower. Essentially, leader perception influences the whole unit's feedback.
So now, we can see the figure model of the topic that was just discussed. So to review again, it is the 360-degree feedback. It has 4 sources: the boss, the self, peer, and direct reports. So lahat ng source na to ay tumuturo sa feedback, and it means na lahat ito ay may contribution to the feedback. And in turn, yung feedback naman ay nakaka-receive ng different perception from every angle. And that's what makes it 360-degree. This feedback can then affect a leader's behavior depending on how they perceive and accept each feedback. And then, we will now summarize our whole module. So, there are just 3 points to remember. Number 1, may concept na what works for you may not work for others. Just like na walang set of behavior that guarantees success for every leader, dito papasok yung competencies ng isang tao. As a leader, what really matters are your values and qualities that will shape how you connect with others and how will you lead them to accomplish your work. So, that's number 1. And then number 2 naman, sa dami ng behaviors, paano natin madidecide kung saan tayo magfo-focus, di ba? That's why, may organizational levels and competency models that will help you identify kung anong tamang skills and actions ang kailangan mo para ma-develop your leadership. And lastly, number 3, we have the 360-degree feedback. This will allow you to have access sa honest insights from your employees, and mas mag-i-improve ang leadership mo because you can use these insights to adjust your style to fit your team. So as a leader, you should be adapting your behavior based on your values, your role, and feedback from your team to build trust, teamwork, and in the end, you will reach success as a team.